Okay, greetings everyone. Now I'm going to start going through these chapters. I want to go through chapter 1 to chapter 3 of this textbook. I asked you to go and borrow the textbook from the Library Educational Technology by Newby, Timothy, among others. This is a very solid book, which will keep us with all the necessary skills that we need to have as teachers, especially in this century where we are encountering so many issues, such as these COVID issues. So section 1 basically is whereby I'm going to look at introduction ourselves to learning and technology. And I'm just going to introduce you to theory, putting theory into application, and then computer tools for teaching and learning. So these 3 chapters in basic, they are going to help you in all the 3 assignments. So I'm teaching with the end in mind. I wouldn't start teaching you things which are not related to what we need to learn. We need to have a very basic, a very solid foundational knowledge of these 3 so that we can use them in teaching practice, we can use them in other modules, and also we can use them in our assignments. And also we can use them in gaining our own values as human beings. Because I said Vygotsky was not only interested in education, but he was also interested in how to become that holistic person. Because what is the purpose of education? That is what Dewey was saying. It's about learning by doing. So here, the book starts by introducing us to its vision and its goals. Because without a vision, the people, they perish. So what are some of the vision for this textbook? Is for us to be proficient in selecting, in modifying, and designing instructional materials. I always talk about the 3 M's. They're in the other textbook that I gave you in the PDF. I hope you have downloaded that textbook from Moodle. Let me see. I'll start sharing. Because this PDF ties very well with what we are doing. And we are also going to do a small test in this module. And this test will help us from this particular textbook. You'll use this textbook when you're doing the test. I'm just going to look at one diagram here, which ties into what I'm talking about. Here, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Can you see this? This is what, in essence, this textbook is about, and this module is about. It's about tying in the 3 M's. The 3 M's are materials. These are, namely, in this textbook, they are calling them resources. What kind of resources do educators use generally? They are books, papers, journal articles, and websites. And then here we are talking about learning support. Learning support is we have the material, the media, and the 3 M's. The media is the tasks, which are in terms of the kind of activities that you give to the learners. And then we have the learning support. That is the learning strategies, like the one I'm talking about, the Vygotsky and the others. That's what I'm calling the 3 M. I will just clarify right now. And then here we have assessment. Assessment has to be seamless. Seamless in terms of there is no partition between a task, between supporting the learner and between giving the learners the resources. The assessment is interwoven. So when I've given you these 3 assignments, the assignments are interwoven in the module, so that by the time you complete these 3 assignments, you will be equipped with the skills that you need to achieve for this module. So I hope you're getting where I'm going from. And this will be examinable in the test, because we're not writing an exam, but you have to understand these 3 M's in terms of media, material, and the method. Method is the learning support. The method, so that as an educator, you have to proactively decide which kind of method am I going to use. Today, I said I'll use the traditional method, whereby I'm going to use this textbook because I do not have the textbook in any other format, and I will just go through it and give you the key words that you need to understand. So here we are being told we are going to be proficient in modifying, selecting, So in essence, we are understanding the PI model, planning. How do you plan for your lecture or for your teaching, even for yourself when you're doing an assignment? What kind of strategies do you need? Because you'll have to become very good in strategic, but you're going to continue with your studies. Say, for example, you're going to do your honors. Say, for example, you're going to do your master's. Say, for example, you're going to do your PhD. You cannot embark on a topic when you have not planned in advance and then decided, how am I going to embark on this journey? So then how do you select those materials which are relevant for the particular topic? And then you be able to plan instructions that addresses and solves complex learning problems for individual students. Remember, we are talking about diversity. We said diversity in terms of gender, diversity in terms of age, diversity in terms of preferences, diversity in terms of learning styles. So these are the keywords I'm dropping here to you to use. That's why I'm recording this video so that you'll be able to use those keywords in your assignments and make your work better. And even when I'm marking your test, because remember, these tests are going to be examined, moderated externally. They'll be looking at the keywords to see how do you really understand what you are doing. And then here we are being told about having a repertoire of instructional methods and media. That's why I'm calling them the 3 M's: learning task, learning resources, and learning support. How do we scaffold the learners using the Vygotsky kind of teaching? How do we use traditional instructions and announcements? And then in terms of the learning tasks, you can see that all these 3, they are merging. They have some commonalities. I don't want to talk so much. Lauren, can you tell me what is common between learning task and learning resources? Then Lungile, you'll tell us what is common between learning support and learning task. Philippa? Yes, yeah.
Learning task, I think it's the tutorials that are given to learners, and assignments, and learning resources. I think it's the materials that are used to do teaching and learning.
Good. You can see that between learning tasks, they are putting a circle that is telling us that there's an overlapping between learning resources and learning tasks. So that when I'm giving the students a worksheet, the worksheet is a resource and is also a task to do in the class. And it's also a form of assessment. Philippa, what is common between learning support and learning resources?
Learning support and learning resources. So basically, learning support, so the resources help the learners with learning support. So say, for example, you need a book in order to scaffold the learners, in order to support their learning. So that's how they're linked. So you'll have to use resources in order to support the learner's learning.
Exactly. Lungile, tell us what is common between learning task and learning support. Is Lungile with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes. What do you see is common? Even you can pick a key term there. What do you see common? Any common word that they are sharing, that learning task and learning support is sharing?
They are sharing tutorials,
yes.
Teams, collaboration, buddies, and mentors.
Yes, so that a learning support is a method of teaching. So I'm planning to teach you using collaboration and teamwork. But when I'm doing that, it is actually a task. It is actually a task because in the process of putting you in pairs, and then I tell you, look at these 2 laptops and tell me what is the difference between these 2 laptops. You are doing an assignment, you are doing a task, you are doing something. You will go into the front of the classroom and do a small presentation and tell us, what did you find was the differences between these 2? I call students and tell them, look at the differences, what is common between various mammals. And then you identify 3 commonalities. And then you go in the class and tell us what are those commons. So you are doing a learning support, you are teaching us, we are role playing, and it's also a task because by the end of the day, you will have done an assignment. So then last but not least, in the vision on this textbook, be able to use the computer to develop and manage instructional materials. So we are going to be ahead, especially in this, where we are having this coronavirus. We are going to be the self-starters. We are going to be the people who are going to be the change agents, because schools are battling in terms of, they never used to think ICT as important. But now they're finding themselves in more need of ICT educators than they have ever done before. So that is basically what we are looking at. Then, if I might just go into this textbook briefly, because I like using this textbook. This textbook is on Moodle, and I'm hoping that you have looked at it because you will need it. So when we are looking at those 3 M's in terms of media, method, and materials, we are looking at diversity of the learners. Some of the learners, they will come to the classroom with initial knowledge. What is this? What is initial knowledge? Who can tell us what is initial knowledge? Anybody, just volunteer. Let us make this lesson more interactive. What is initial knowledge? What does the word initial tell you when it's
the
yes.
learner's prior knowledge? What they've learned from their parents and their community.
Exactly. And you know what? Most educators, we have the tendency of disregarding the learner's initial knowledge. We come as educators assuming that the learners are tabula rasa. Tabula rasa was this concept that was raised by this philosopher who said that the learners, they come with a blank slate. So we are, as educators, we are the ones who are doing all the filling in on that tabula rasa, blank slate. But Vygotsky and the others, they have realized learners, they come with prior knowledge, which is very rich resources for teachers to use as the scaffolding, as the place where you place. So we are not placing knowledge on an empty vessel, we are placing knowledge on something. So that idea of initial knowledge is very important. And also, initial knowledge in another way is that some learners may not have so much knowledge of a particular subject. I don't want to use all the time computers. Maybe I'm teaching them about photosynthesis. I will go to the classroom assuming everybody understands what is photosynthesis. But if you understand that some learners, they only have an initial knowledge, the way you'll approach that teaching of photosynthesis will be quite different than if you went there assuming that they all have an understanding of what is photosynthesis in the first place. Then we have advanced knowledge. Yes, can you, Lauren, what is advanced knowledge? In your own way, what does the word advanced tell you? Yes. And I cannot see the name of the other student. Treasure. Treasure?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you? I've not seen you in the lecture before.
I had network issues, so I couldn't attend some of the classes.
So have you tried to look at what we have been doing?
Yes, I did.
Have you started the assignment?
Yes, I have.
Is the template on Moodle helping you?
Yes, it did. And also the video that you uploaded.
Yes, and also this PDF is on Moodle. If you go to Moodle where there are all the folder for the assignment, you'll find this PDF. You will need this PDF for all the assignments. To do well, you just use it and reference, and you'll need it even for the test. Okay? Treasure, what do you understand by the word advanced?
Knowledge. I actually think it's the knowledge.
Advanced. Yes, yes.
I think it's the knowledge that learners learn in class when you teach them.
Yes, if I asked you the word advanced, what does the word advanced mean?
I think it has to do with something that is new. Something
okay.
that is that is more innovative, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You see, advanced is far more. What's the difference between advanced and initial? Lauren, what would be the difference between advanced knowledge and initial knowledge? What would be the difference between two students? One student has initial knowledge, another student has advanced knowledge.
Since initial knowledge is the primary, and advanced knowledge is like the word advanced is something like going forward, keeping moving. So like the prior knowledge and the advanced knowledge, they are different. Yeah.
Yes, advanced is somebody who is far ahead. If we are running or going for a walk, me, I'm initially in the house still locking the door. But you are advanced, you are outside the gate. You see the difference? I will tell you to wait for me. Otherwise, we will not be walking together. That's what we are talking about. So somebody who has the initial knowledge is still closing the gate, the door. I'm still locking the door. I'm still putting on my shoes. Advanced knowledge, you are already outside the gate. So you can already see what is happening. You see, we are not on the same level. So one of you is already have an idea of what is happening outside the gate. The other one doesn't know. That's where now the teacher has to understand that some learners, they are still locked in their mentality, and others are already outside. They can already see exactly what you want to teach. And then we have expertise knowledge. I'm going to go back to Philippa. Philippa, what is expertise knowledge?
I think it's knowledge from the teacher, from the educator.
And what does the word expertise mean?
Knowledgeable other.
What does the word specifically the word expertise?
It's like you specialize in that knowledge. You've been learning about it. It's your expertise. Like.
Yes. Now tell me, let me ask you further. How are you going to teach the learner who is initial knowledge and the learner who is expertise knowledge? Just give me an idea. How are you going to treat them when you're teaching them? Lungile. Are you going to teach them the same way? Initial knowledge learner and another learner in the same classroom who has expertise knowledge of the subject?
No, I'm not going to teach them the same way. I can maybe use the expertise knowledge to teach the initial knowledge to that learner that needs initial knowledge.
Yes, and the expertise knowledge? You see, I like the way she's telling us. Initial knowledge, I talked about behaviorism and constructivism. Initial knowledge, the learner doesn't even understand how to use a laptop. So you cannot start them, open your laptop, start typing MS Word, whatever. You'll have to start using a demonstration. It is going to be more teacher-centered. Behaviorism. Behaviorism, we talked about Skinner last time and Pavlov, whereby now they are the ones who are saying, we are going to change the behavior of the learners by showing them what to do. So it is going to be teacher-centered, direct instruction. Open your laptop like this. This is how you start typing. This is how you do this. This is how you format. That's what we are doing with initial knowledge. You are just teaching them the facts, the rules and the procedures of using MS Word. But advanced knowledge, the learners, they have a bit knowledge of the world, of laptops and computers. Therefore, you'll just go into helping them to understand the concepts so that they can start applying. So what are you going to be doing as an educator? Guided learning, coaching, scaffolding. Scaffolding is where you give support and then you withdraw the support. But then you'll have the same different learners in the classroom who are experts. So how are you going to cater for their needs so they do not get bored in the classroom? You give them more of analysis, synthesis. You give them an alternative way, perspective of seeing the same problem. So then what are you going to use? Student-centered. There is more independence. You allow them to apply their experiences. So that's what is happening, is that we are moving from one side. One of the concerns is behaviorism, and the other continuum is constructivism. So we cannot say that we are not going to use all the theories. This is all about the theories of education that I was talking about last time. We are looking at behaviorism, where we apply it for learners who have just the initial knowledge. We give them the facts, we give them the rules, we give them the procedures. So we cannot even start telling them to go to the laboratory and start applying the Newton's law, the electronic laws, the electricity laws, because they do not even understand what are that. So the first thing we do is just start teaching them what are the principles of chemistry, what are the laws and they even can memorize, even regurgitate, even repetition, so that they just understand. The principle of Newton's law states that if an object is falling, the gravitational law, they understand it. Just even though it doesn't make so much sense, but with time, they will now start applying and going to the laboratory to do the demonstration to actually test the Newton's law. That's what I'm talking about. So we are moving from behaviorism all the way to constructivism so that we can build the learners. And we are going to use the 3 M's, media, methods, and materials to do all this, okay? So I asked you to borrow this textbook. I'm hoping that you do have it, because that's what I'm going to do. I don't have the textbook on or as a PDF. So the key words in this chapter 1, where we are being introduced to learning, is what is learning? What is educational technology? What is cognitive overload? Whereby the learners now, they are not even able to get in more into their head. What is an instructional plan? Why are we planning? So here we are describing what is learning. We are describing what is an enhanced learning. So what exactly is learning? That is the question. What is learning? Do we know what is learning? Who can tell me what is learning really? What are we doing right now? Treasure, what is learning?
I think learning is the acquisition of knowledge through study or experience.
Exactly, that is what we are talking about. So right now, we are acquiring knowledge through interaction. Because the way you came is not the same way you are going to leave this place. Why? Because you will have been a changed person. So we have definition of learning from 2 perspectives. Behaviorism, they define learning as a change of behavior. They're interested in the outer change. That's what you'll put in your assignment. Whereas constructivism, they are saying there's more than just a change in behavior. There's also a change in the mind. So that the change is not only outside, but there's also a change within. So we have we have in fact 3 different definitions of learning, depending on who is defining learning. We have it here in the textbook. So what is that? So how does learning typically occur? According to Vygotsky, learning is taking place in an environment as right now. We are using different tools, we are communicating, and we are learning. So we are more interested in just the change in behavior. And then here we are being asked, why should we study? Why should we study learning as educators? Why do we need to understand what is learning? I suppose, how would we go to teach if at all we do not know what we are teaching and how to do it? And that's why the last week I was asking you, what is the difference between somebody who does bachelor's of science and somebody who does bachelor's of science in education? You will realize that the person who does bachelor's of science will have the knowledge, but they might not have the ability to convey that knowledge. I have met people who are very, very brilliant, but they do not know how to share or transfer that brilliancy to others. But somebody else might just be very basic knowledge of a subject. Like now, me, I don't have much knowledge of accounting. I did an MBA, but I never did accounting as a degree. But yet I find myself helping another student who is doing his bachelor's in accounting. He was writing his test the other day. I sat down with the student and I was teaching the student how he's going to go and write the test. Because as an educator, I'm teaching the student the strategy of how to address the lecturer's test, how to go about writing that test. And the student told me, whatever you told me really helped me so much. You see, because me, I'm not coming there as an accountant, but I'm coming to the student as an educator. And as an educator, I'm telling the student there is more to just understanding the accounting into answering the questions the way the lecturers want. Because the lecturers there, they are saying, if you only write for us theory, you are not going to get the marks. And because the lecturers in that accounting, they want you to apply those psycha, there's those principles of accounting. You must put up into a bracket that you're using FA12, but you do not quote that FA12 without applying that FA12 into the question that you have been asked. So they say, Mr. Mushilongo is going through a difficulty with collecting debts. How do you suppose Mr. Mushilongo should go about writing off the debts that maybe will not be recoverable? The student, they go and then start writing those FA whatever theory and say, when a debt is more than 90 days, we call it a bad debt. They don't pass. But when the student goes and starts applying Mr. Mushilongo's issue specifically, and how Mr. Mushilongo should go about in declaring whether a debt will be recoverable or is a bad debt, becomes different. And that's where now you see a student getting a mark and a student else not getting a mark because the other student was not able to apply. And that is where our role as educator is coming in. How is it coming in? To increase that effectiveness of the learners. Our role is coming in to make our learners more efficient. Our role is coming in because we are going to increase that transferability of content. So look at me, I'm not an accountant, but I'm helping an accounting student to have that transferability. There's going to be increased impact so that the learners will even perform better than they would have performed if they were being taught by a BSE student and compared to a BSE student who has done education on top of that. There is that increased appeal because there's this tendency when you have that BSE degree, you do not know how to convey it, and then teaching and learning becomes very boring. The learners are asking themselves, when will this lecture end so that I can leave? But when you have that BSE with education there, you learn how to motivate the learners. There are two types of motivation, extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. So that the learners are intrinsically motivated to go and mix the chemicals in the laboratory, and also the learners are extrinsically motivated because they know you might reward them in so doing. So here we have situation A, where a learner is going to a teacher is going to the classroom and he does not know how to apply effectiveness, efficiency, transfer, impact, and appealing. And then we have a scenario B, where the teacher is really a teacher who knows how to use the various things to make learning important. So I hope that you are going to look at that. And then here they're looking at educational technology and how it can be used for teaching and learning. And most importantly, I like the idea that the author is saying educational technology is not the end in itself. Educational technology is the means. It is the means. It's a bridge between theory and application. And then what we look at here, I hope you have the textbook. If you don't have, you listen to this video and I know you will get something. You will get something, I assure you. He's using one of the ideas of a model called the pie model. The pie model is about, a pie is, we know it's a circle, which is divided into 3 in this case. Here, one of the circle, we are giving a third. Let's divide this pie into 3. The first one is the planning stage. How am I going to go about planning for the students to understand what is photosynthesis? And then how am I going to implement so that by the end of the lesson, the learners, they understand how photosynthesis actually can be tested in the laboratory, whereby we take a plant, we give it, we put it in a container and we don't give it anything. We put another one, we put a cotton wool. And then we put another one, we put water and some soil. And then after 3 weeks, we evaluate and see what happened. And then there is the evaluation part, whereby us as educators, we can evaluate how we are teaching our learners, and also the learners can evaluate themselves. So in this textbook, we can see we have the planning, implementing, and evaluating of the various things. Remember, we are evaluating all the 3 M's. We are going to evaluate the method we are teaching with. Like today, I told you I'm going to use the traditional method. Then I can evaluate whether did it work. And then we evaluate the materials we are using, that's the resources. And then we can evaluate the learning task in terms of the media that we have given the learners to use. So what is the role of instruction? Can we say that behaviorism, we just throw it away? Definitely no. Behaviorism is as important as is learning by doing. So here, to end this chapter, they are looking at the key words. Cooperative learning. Cooperative learning is whereby learners are learning cooperatively, unlike collaboration. In cooperative learning, there is more of coming into a consensus, but in collaborative learning, it's more of I give my view, you give your view, and then we see what is going to happen. Discovery learning, I talked about Bruner. Problem solving, that is what we are here to do anyway. Simulation is whereby you give students something that drill and practice is a traditional method of teaching. Tutorial, demonstration, all these keywords, they are there in this PDF that we have looked at when we are looking at the various, the 3 M's. And then what is happening, we are looking at the motivational activities, orientation activities, informational activities, application activities, and evaluation activities. What is happening? Generally, activities is, let me go again to the 3M. I don't know whether somebody has this book with them to tell me where the 3M is again. I want to go back to the 3M. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. It's very important. I'm just talking, and I don't want to talk to myself 24/7, but I'm just talking to give you the keywords. Then you can use this video to help you apply these keywords to your assignment. That is basically what I'm doing. So here, in page 15 of this textbook, they are really looking at the keywords, and those keywords, we can see them here. Motivational activities. What activities are you going to give the learners that are going to motivate them? So the teacher goes to the classroom basically with one end in mind. Today I'm going to motivate the learners with an activity. And then the other one, the teacher goes to the classroom with an orientation activity. I don't know whether you know what is orientation. Lungile, who can tell me what is orientation? Makosana, you've joined us. Makosazana, how are you?
Thanks, and you?
Yes, I'm happy to see you. What does the word orientation mean?
Some sort of guide, way of guiding. Yeah.
When do you use it? I hear you use the word orientation in Edgewood. When do they use the word orientation in Edgewood?
Oh, to guide us, to show us around campus.
To show you around campus. You see that? So they are using orientation week to show first year students what the university does. You see that? That's what we are doing with the orientation activity. I want to orientate you to understanding what is computer. I want to orientate the students to understanding how MS Word works. I want to orientate the students to understand what is photosynthesis. You see? I want to orientate the students to understanding a basic, it can be something specific or something general. So orientation is whereby you just want the students to have an understanding. I want to start teaching database to grade 12. Instead of going straight into teaching database, I can start with an orientation whereby I'm going to even to demonstrate what is basically a database. What does it do? So that from there, once I start looking at one specific tools of database, they will not get confused as to what I'm doing. Then we have information activity, which is almost closely related to orientation, but this one is more of throwing the information. Learners, some of the learners, they don't know how to even gather information. And information is very important for us to make a decision. Because Somebody from Malanga might want to come to study in Edgewood. They have never been to Durban before. They have been told that they cannot get a resident available. What will they have to do? They'll have to go to the internet and start Googling and finding out, where can I find an accommodation? They need to have the information of the basic knowledge of where Edgewood is located. And then they look at the various accommodation near Edgewood, and then they compare the prices and accessibility and other things. That is the information activities. So application is now whereby now I've moved further from orientation. I want the learners to apply what I have taught them. I tell them, go to game store, look at the two various computers, write to me what you discovered in terms of the prices and why the two computers were having a different price. Then you come and tell me why you think computer A was selling at 8,000 and computer B was selling at 5,000. Then you tell me, oh yes, they have different RAM, they have different processors, they have different manufacturers. That is application. So the learner is applying what you have been teaching in the classroom. And then evaluation activities is whereby now we are going to evaluate how much has the learner learned. I don't know whether any one of you can tell me, where do you think we can use evaluation activities? Who can be able to even guess? Because I started with motivational activities, orientation. I'm going on and on. Now I'm moving to evaluation activities. Lauren, when do you think I can use evaluation activities? Hello, Lauren? I wonder whether Lauren is hearing us. Lungile, just give us an idea. I've done all that. Yes, please, thanks. Yes, both of you can tell me something. I would really appreciate. We can start to Lauren. Yes, when do you think, give me an example of an evaluation activity.
Evaluation activity?
Yes.
Let's try.
Yes. Imagine, what is the key word? Evaluation. That will help you.
The word evaluation?
Yes, use that word to tell me what you think can be an evaluation activity.
I don't know.
Lungile, what is to evaluate?
I think it's to check or to find out.
Yes. So give me an example of an activity I'm going to give you to evaluate your learning.
I think you can evaluate the learning by giving the learners the assessment.
Yes.
To check what they've gained.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what we are talking about, an evaluation. Evaluation mostly will be a test or an exam. And at the end of the semester, at the end of the module, you are teaching MS Word, you give them an evaluation activity at the end. So most of the times we have three types of assessment. Formative assessment is not former. Formative is beginning. Formative assessment is where you can even use to check the student's knowledge. Formative assessment is former, beginning, before, prior, so that you can understand learners who have initial knowledge, advanced knowledge, and expert knowledge. And then after I've done formative assessment, at the end of the semester, or at the end of teaching MS Word and I've finished, I will do summative. Summative is coming from which word? Is it the word summary?
Yes.
No, it's not the word summary. You know, it can be, but not really. Summative, it is to sum up. I don't want to use the word summary. I want to use the word sum up. You know, to sum up is whereby I say 1 + 1 is 2. So summative is not really summary, because summary is, you might be summarizing, but summative, I'm adding 1 + 1. So summative is at the end. I'm summing up. I'm putting up all the things I did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I add them together to give me 20 something. That is what is summative assessment. Summative assessment is at the end. So I'm evaluating I will give the learners an evaluation activity in terms of an exam or a test to sum up what they have been doing. Okay? So here we are looking at, after looking at those activities, here they're looking at the keywords again, page 16. For me, they are looking at educational medium. I talked about the 3M. I'll keep on repeating the 3Ms throughout because I also want you to use the word 3M. You can even use this thing in your assignment. I want you to use exactly the things that we are doing today to make your work look better. I do not even care whether the assignment can be prolonged as long as we do the assignment well, because I do not want us to do an assignment in a rush. I want us to be doing things which are very important. Tell me, Dr. Gachie, what you have taught us today, I need to apply it in my assignment. What do I do? So here they're talking about educational medium. They're talking about objects, models, where you can use a model, a prototype. We want to develop a different kind of BMW. Instead of developing the BMW using expensive materials, we can use a small model. We start by using a computer model. We use the computer model to develop the BMW on a computer, sketching the BMW on a model. And then after that, we can now take small parts which are not very expensive. We make a small BMW using cheap materials. And then once we do that, now we can now do the prototype of a BMW. And then we can now do the testing and all that, you know, before we can make the BMW. That's what we are talking about, educational medium, where you're using real objects and models. I really do not want to do all the talking. Philippa, why do you think BMW should go through that process? Why? Of developing a model instead of a real BMW in the first place?
So you can check if all the parts are working and if the prototype is good.
Yes. Okay. Makosazana, I want to hear from you.
Yes.
Tell me, give me another reason why BMW are going to go through that process of prototyping. Why? Why should they do it? What would be the advantage of doing that?
It helps you check how the model's working. So basically it gives you like a test run before you create the actual model.
You see, exactly. It's going to save cost, isn't it? It's going to save cost, because imagine if you build a BMW. We saw the other day, I don't know which car, it was a Ford. Why are we using text to teach our learners? Well, in fact, what I'm going to say here is that they're using objects, text, like I'm doing. They're using videos, like I am doing. Audio, the same way we are communicating. Visuals for the learners to do. Descartes says, by seeing, the learner is able to retain more than just by hearing. So they're calling them multimedia, but me, I like to call them digital media. I prefer to call them digital media because multimedia is many media. Multi means many, but digital is more of these things that we are using for communication, for interaction, and for exchange of knowledge. I usually give the example of Moses. I usually say, if Moses was here now, we would be seeing the children of Israel in the desert, we would be seeing, you know, on a video Moses performing the miracles, we would be seeing the snake, the snake eating another snake or whatever he was doing, the Red Sea turning into frogs. And imagine how beautiful that would have been if at all Moses had a video. In fact, even the Bible would be more realistic because we would be believing these miracles because we would be seeing them on video. So that is exactly what I'm talking about, digital media, whereby the learners and the educators specifically, we use different medias for communication, like we are communicating, for interaction. Right now we are interacting even though it's not physically. And for expression, because we are using digital media to express ourselves in different ways. And that is where now they're talking about the power of learning, the power of this machine, which is called computer. And then in this chapter, they have started going down into the beginning of a computer, because in the beginning was a computer. How did the computer start? That's how chapter 1 is about. Do you want me to go through chapter 2 very quickly, so that it can give you a grounding in terms of the assignments that we are doing? Is that okay? Makosa, Treasure?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yes, let me go through chapter 2 before you can say we are tired. I wanted to do 3 chapters, but it seems as though we run out of time. But I wanted you to give you the background knowledge and the importance of using this PDF, because this PDF is telling us the learning tasks are pivotal elements. Pivotal meaning that they are important in the design of teaching and learning. And he's looking at chapter 2 as by itself. And yet, if I go here and use Control Find, I'll see. Let me go to the beginning. I'll repeat. This page is page 30. I want to keep on coming back to this page 30. Let me just paste there page 30, just in case. I don't even know whether we'll have the time to go to look at all of them. But let me just show you. This PDF is on Moodle. Use it as much as you can and reference it. It's talking about online learning, but basically speaking, online learning is just learning like any other way. It doesn't matter. If you cannot teach online, you cannot teach face to face. You are not a teacher anyway. Learning task is what he has started with. Then he goes on and then looks at learning resources. And then he looks at learning support. You see, look at how important that is. And these are the 3 M's: media, materials, and method. And then he's looking at learning design. How do we design around the learners? We can design around the learners by giving situated learning, where we situate a problem. We can use problem-based learning, whereby I give our learners a very ill-defined task for them to do, a problem to solve. Problem-based learning, whereby now you are given a problem, and case-based learning, they are almost the same. Project-based learning, we go to the field and do a project. I tell you, go to SPA with your grade 8 learners, tell them to go and collect the various things that are being sold, enter them into an Excel document, calculate the prices, and then tell them what would happen if at all the prices change. They go and learn how to manipulate the MS Excel without doing it physically. What would happen if at all the quantities of materials that you are buying in SPA changes? They don't have to go and start saying 6, 7. They use MS Excel and do it quicker. Inquiry is very important. Inquiry is used in science, whereby you are finding out, you are asking, and then role-playing and simulation. So theory into application. We are applying a theory. What is a theory? A theory is something whereby I propose my own finding. I propose my own thing, contemporary. What is a theory? Is whereby I'm proposing something. What is happening? I observe something, I start explaining it, and then I make a prediction that is going to happen again. That's what is happening with the pandemic. So somebody will observe, oh, what do you think caused this pandemic? Is a virus by an animal? Okay. How are we going to explain this pandemic? We explain it, and then we predict what's going to happen in 2023. Then based on those predictions, we start coming up with proactive ways so that the pandemic cannot come up again. That's what we are talking. Then we develop a theory of dealing with this virus that called coronavirus or any other virus that will be related in that class, so that we are not only going to deal with the pandemic as it is coming reactively, we are going to become proactive by developing a theory that will be used even by the next generation when they encounter another pandemic of this nature, so that many lives will be saved in future. But if we do not develop a theory of solving this pandemic, I'm telling you, after we solve this pandemic, 10 years, another one will come, and then we'll be acting haphazardly, lockdown, what, without coming up with a specific way of dealing with this pandemic without hurting the economy. Because somebody are saying, oh, I better die with the pandemic than die of hunger, because the lockdown has made many people close their businesses. These are unintended consequences that should have been avoided if at all we are going to sit down as educators and develop a theory of dealing with the pandemic. And that's what has happened with somebody called Jenner, Edward Jenner. He tried to explain why the milkmaids in the 19th century, they were not getting smallpox. So Jenner went and studied and said, he was a scientist. Every time he goes to the rural areas, he sees anybody who was milking the cows was not getting smallpox. But the people who are not near the cows, they were in the city, they were getting smallpox. He asked himself, why do you think that is the case? Can any one of you guess? Why do you think that people who are milking cows were not getting smallpox? Those who are never the cow, who are never close to a cow, they were getting smallpox. Who can guess? Just a guess. Please. Anybody, please. We've listened with the virus. Who can guess? Why people who are near the cow milking them were not getting smallpox? Yes. Please.
That small what?
Smallpox. Smallpox. Smallpox is like a disease that comes on the skin. And we used to have smallpox, you know. It comes on, yes. They were not getting smallpox. They were not catching smallpox. It's like a fever. Smallpox is like a fever. It's like a bad flu. We have every child, when they are born, they are vaccinated against smallpox. Whenever you are born, the first thing you get is a vaccination. Remember those vaccinations that we got as children? That's what I'm talking about. So why do you think those people who are milking cows were not getting those infections those years? Because nobody understood what it was. Any guess? Please.
Ma'am, isn't it that the milk was processed? Maybe the milk was processed, so when they were milking the cow, at that time the milk wasn't processed and no chemicals were added or any colorants or preservatives. So when the milk is processed, maybe that's how the virus got in, and it could easily affect other people without affecting the people who were milking the cow.
You see, I'm very happy that you're coming close to the answer. And now, let's imagine, look at the virus. What is happening with the virus? Then you'll get the answer. What is happening with the virus? If you don't know how to get this virus, what do? You stay?
You get the vaccine.
No, this virus that is going around, the coronavirus, if to protect yourself, what are we doing?
Oh, we are using masks and social distancing.
That's the thing. So, but the opposite was the case. With this flu, when you expose yourself to a cow, the cow is breathing to you that disease, but in small doses. You understand? And then when the cow every day is breathing to you that disease in small doses, you develop resistance. You see? That's what was happening. Every time you wake up, you go to the cow gives you a small dose of smallpox, then your body starts saying, oh, then tomorrow. And then with the time, even if you'll not get it, because now you have been vaccinated by the cow, you know, in quote, that's what was happening. So that's why we are saying, people, they were thinking that if we get exposed to the virus, we'll develop antibodies, but somehow our body has not yet learned how to do that. So with Jenny's case, people who are being exposed to the cow was carrying smallpox, they were not getting it. But somebody who had not been exposed to the smallpox in small doses, when they come across somebody who is carrying smallpox in big doses, they get very sick. You see, that's what a vaccine is about. A vaccine, the one we are being told to get, it is small doses of the virus are going to be injected in you. When the small doses of the virus is injected in you, your body will say, what is that? And then it will start creating antibodies that will fight the virus. Yes, in fact, people are not dying of the coronavirus because of the virus. That's why you hear people are being taken in ICU, putting in breathing machine and whatever. You know why people are getting the virus so fast and it was killing people so quickly? Because the virus will come to your body in a big dose. You understand? Eh? On a big dose. Once it comes to your body on a big dose, your body does not, first of all, recognize a foreigner in the body. So you stay for 2, 5 days, 6 days. That's why we are doing the self-isolation. And then by the time the body recognizes there is a foreigner, the dose has increased of the virus. And then what will the body do? The body will go onto a defense mode, you know, like it will start producing antibodies to fight the virus. But now the body will produce in such a big number that you start overheating and you start hallucinating and losing your mind. That's why people are, when they get that virus, they are going like crazy. It's not the virus that is making you crazy. It is your body that is making you to go crazy because it has produced excess of fighting machine. Now then you start overheating and that's why it's causing death. It's not the virus, in fact, which is somehow responsible for killing you. It is your own body reacting when it is too late. But now if we get the vaccine in small doses, the body will have created the antibodies in small doses, which are manageable. So when the virus comes in big doses, we'll not go into flight or flight mode. You know, if we are going into fight or flight mode, the body is doing like that. So that's what Jenny did. He developed a theory of vaccination. Okay? It is called a theory because it is not yet a truth. It is not yet a principle, like the principle of gravity. If I take a pen, hold it like this, it will fall down. It's a principle that we are using even to fly. We are using that principle of gravity to fly because now we are saying if we can go against the gravity. You see, but now this one is a theory. Theory is not a principle, it's not a law. It is still in this early stage. So nobody can actually tell us 100% that the vaccination works to treat these smallpox. They only that they just want to do it, and it has somehow 80% of the people they succeed. Then 20% it doesn't succeed. That's why we are doing the vaccination now. We don't know what will be the percentage rate at which the vaccination for the coronavirus will work, but we are doing it, and that's why we cannot call it 100%. We cannot call it medicine or treatment. We are calling it a theory. It's a theory. So learning theories are the theories that we are using as principles organized by various philosophers to say, can learning really take place in this way? So the behaviorists, they say learning takes place by a change in behavior. Then we have another one called the information processing perspective. They say, no, it's a change in the memory. They look at us like as though we are computers. Whereas the constructivist perspective, they'll say, no, it is a change inside the head, the cognitive, the change of meaning. Remember I told you about the 3 A's. So then here we on page 27, they're saying, what is the learning process? The behaviorists, they say learning takes place as antecedent, A, B, C. That's what they say. Antecedent, behavior, consequence. Antecedent, I put for you a piece of beef there. The way you behave will carry a consequence. Skinner, he was teaching the pigeon how to dance. He would put peas for them. Then the pigeons will behave in a certain way. Depending on their behavior, there will be consequence. One of the consequences was reward to reinforce that behavior. The other consequence was negative reinforcement. He does not want them to dance because he wanted them to dance in a particular style. So if they did not dance the way he wanted them to dance, there would be a consequence, but this time it's not reward. It will be even punishment. Negative reinforcement, so that the pigeon does not repeat that behavior tomorrow. And then there will be extinction. He does not even want to see that behavior even in another day. And then information processing, the theory, they're saying, no, we look at attention, encoding, like as though we are a computer, we retrieve that information from you as a computer from your memory. But the constructivists, they are saying, no, it's a continuous process of learning, whereby you experience something, you reflect on it. Remember I told you about the 4 A's, we assimilate, and then we accommodate, and then we have a change in the head. So that we say, not all four-legged animals are cats. They can be cows, they can be so forth and so forth. And then he's looking at the role of the teacher in the behaviorism. The role of the teacher in the behaviorism theory is to arrange those ABC. I arrange the punishment, I arrange the consequences, I arrange the rewards, I arrange everything so that you can dance. You know, remember Pavlov, he was placing dogs with the meat. And then if the dog, then he would ring the bell so that he was pairing. And every time he would ring the bell, the dogs would start salivating. That was Pavlov. And then with time, he started only ringing the bell and he was not putting the meat there. The dog salivated for first 2 days and then the dog stopped salivating. And then he realized, no, what will I be doing? Pairing. So that some days he put meat and the bell, then the other day he doesn't put the meat, he puts the bell, and so forth. That's the role of the educator. In the information processing, the teacher is arranging the conditions to support the memory processing. But in the constructivist perspective, me as the educator, I'm acting as a guide. I'm scaffolding you to understand the learning. And then what can the teacher do to carry out the role? In the behaviorism perspective, the teacher comes very clearly, says, this is what you are expected to do. This is the punishment that you are going to do. This is how I'm going to give you the rewards. You know, arranging the reinforcing consequences. In the information processing perspective, the teacher is organizing how the new knowledge will be observed. We are a computer in this case, and how the existing knowledge will be changed. But in the constructivism perspective, I'm providing opportunities, which I call them authentic learning opportunities, for you to meaningfully solve the problem as I've done in the assignment. So I provide an opportunity for learning, for guiding, and for collaboration. And then here in what is the role of the technology? In the behaviorism perspective, the teacher is still arranging. Remember, the teacher is an arranger, arranging for ABC to take place: antecedent, behavior, consequence. So the computer will act as a tutor to do that. You do worksheets on the computer, you do drill and practice until you get it right. You do those programs whereby you are doing the multiple choices using the computers until you get it right. Whether you are learning or not, it doesn't matter. In the information processing, you are helping the student to organize new information, linking the existing and the new, encoding. The student is like a RAM and a hard disk, so that the students are retrieving the information from the hard disk into the memory, from the memory to the hard disk. That's the information processing theory. But here in the constructivism theory, the role of the technology is to facilitate collaboration so that the computer acts as an instructor, as an educator, as a friend, as a communication, as an interactive tool, as a tool for enhancement, as anything that you want it to be. And what is the primary responsibility of the learner? In the behaviorism perspective, the learner's responsibility is to behave according to the way you want, is to respond to the way I'm giving them the instruction. In the information processing perspective, the learner is actively synthesizing the information as though they were a computer, how the computer operates. In the constructivism perspective, the learner is exploring as a scientist does. The learner is exploring, is discovering, is learning by doing, is collaborating, and in the process, the learner is learning. So generally speaking, this page 27 is a table. I think I'm going to come up with a way of, I will scan this one for you and put it there for you to see this table in terms of the various things that I'm talking about. I'll just show you right now before we call it a day. So then we can see the role of the information processing, the constructivism perspective, which I've been talking about, how they are defining learning as an experience, collaboration, social interaction, actively creating meaning. You know, you bring your own things. And then we are seeing the paradigm shift where we are shifting the roles of the students and the teachers to be more learner-centered. So here at page 38, they are showing us the shift. And I'm not saying that behaviorism learning is not good. I'm just saying that we are shifting. Let me see, if at all I stop sharing. I don't know whether you'll be able to see. I don't know if I hold this up, I don't know whether you'll be able to see. Yes. I don't know whether you all have the textbook. You know, page 27 is not even clear at all. I'm going to get for you this table and put it there on Moodle. We don't have this textbook. This is what I'm talking about, whereby we are looking at the various things that are happening here and the behaviorism perspective, information processing perspective, and the constructivism perspective. Very important. Behaviors, they are interested in A, B, C. Information processing theory, they are interested in you seeing you as a computer. Constructivism perspective, they see you as somebody who can be able to think and create meaning. And then that's why we have this other page. I'm going to scan for you these pages. I asked you to go and borrow this book from the library. They are there. So that we are having a paradigm shift. We are shifting from learners being passive, waiting for the teacher to give them all the information and direction, to actively searching the information as we are doing in the assignment. Always being there in the role of the learner, shifting so that the learners now are able to explore, discover, create a shift. Let me share the screen last me. Then you see here is what we are talking about, the shift in the role. The role of the student is shifting, the role of the teacher is shifting. The teacher is becoming more who is equipping the learners with the learning skills, supporting, collaborating, coaching, helping the learners to discover themselves, encouraging, motivating, and so forth and so forth. I'm going to finish with only these 2 chapters. I cannot go to chapter 3 because you are going to be overloaded, and we have talked about already cognitive overload. I will look at these other chapters as I'm looking at the assignment. Next week, I'll go through assignment 2. So I want you to ask me questions before we can go to assignment 2. Do you have the textbooks, all of you? Did you borrow the textbook from the library? Lugile, do you have the textbook?
Yes, I have it.
Lauren, do you have the textbook?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good, good. Makosazana, do you have a textbook?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, good. Tresha?
No, I don't have it.
So, are you living close by the university?
No, I'm not.
Oh, I tried searching on the internet. I couldn't find the textbook. The textbook is not available on the internet. I know Philippa. Philippa, you must be having the textbook. You told me you do, yeah? So I don't know how we are going to cater for you, but you can listen to these videos. I will try to scan some few pages here on the Pi model, and I will scan for you some of the other things, but I know from what we have done, basically you have gained something solid. So that next week I will look at the assignment 2. Let me get any questions from the learners before we can end the lecture. I want your feedback, what else we can do, because it is, I'm using both all the educational theories, because we can say a theory is not a law, it's not a principle. We say the learners learn only through this way. That's why I'm asking you to give me your feedback now. Can I hear each one of you tell me something before we end? By talking, you are empowering yourself. Who is going to be our class rep? I need that one today. Who is going to be our class rep here? Tresha, because you have not been here, can you select for us a class rep now? Because I don't know who is going to be.
Philippa Brenner.
Okay, Philippa, you are going to be our class rep. I'm going to submit.
Hi, ma'am.
Your name.
Can Lorraine be a class rep, ma'am?
Let me tell you something. Let me just tell you something. There's nothing as powerful as somebody who has had faith in you. You know, you're supposed to be telling her thank you because she has shown confidence in you. And that's how we are developing one another. We are developing one another in this module by having confidence on one another. Being educators is about placing confidence in one another. When you are seeing me asking you questions is a praise. When somebody is asking you a question, they are actually praising you. Why are they praising you? They are asking you a question because they believe you have a capacity to answer. When you see me asking you, Rauren, tell me this, it's because I'm praising you. I'm telling you, I believe you can do it. So whenever I'm asking you a question, even if you do not know how to answer it, just try and guess, because a question is a praise. And whenever I'm praising you, show back that you are actually believing, that Dr. Gachie is believing in me. And you know, by the end, you see, actually, I knew more than I did. You see, here is Piaget. These are the kind of, this textbook, you will need it. You will need this textbook to do this assignment. I hope, Treasure, you have this textbook. This textbook is available on Moodle. You should not have any reason of telling me you don't have this textbook. Lungile, can you tell us something before we end the lecture?
There's nothing I want to say.
Please, okay. Lauren, I just want to hear each person say something. Even if it is what you have learned, anything, it's very important. It's crucial. It builds us as human beings. Tell me something, anything. Lauren.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me something, anything.
Anything. Oh, no, I didn't have something to say.
What have you learned? How is this going to help you in the assignment? What would you have wanted me to do? What
about the initial knowledge and advanced knowledge, or just the prior knowledge and the ongoing knowledge, like the forward knowledge. I don't know how to put it. How is it going to help me?
Yes. I'm going to ask now, Philippa, can you tell her in your own words, how is understanding these three types of knowledge going to help Lauren in the classroom as a teacher?
Well, it's going to help her identify the different types of students she has in a class. And it basically will enable her to see where she needs to start off first, like the basis of the content that she needs to teach, before moving on to like higher knowledge. So basically she'd have to start with where the learners are, like the base, like the learners that are lacking in knowledge. I think she'd have to start there and then eventually carry them through, as well as carry the other ones that have knowledge through, you know, through the knowledge levels.
You see, exactly. Yeah. That's what we are talking about. We are here, these three knowledges, Lauren, they are threading the whole theory we were talking about. So initial knowledge, here we see the teacher will more use the behaviorism theory. If I was to highlight this, I would use it and say, this is more of behaviorism theory. Yes, let me put it right here. Here is behaviorism. Behaviorism theory, the one we have just looked at now. So initial knowledge, we are looking more of behaviorism theory. We are looking in terms of giving the students a ground. You know, the students, they do not even know what is first year students. They need to be introduced to computer literacy, for example. That's what we will do. Computer literacy. That's what we are doing. That is where we are giving them initial knowledge. So before you start teaching students how to do table of content, how to do complex tasks with Excel, before I can start teaching students how to do if statements, how to do complex calculations using MS Excel, what do I need to do? I need to teach them the basics of MS Excel, the basics of Excel. So here is foundation. We are giving them the foundation. Whereas, and that's behaviorism. Whereas when I come to this other one, I will be talking about, I'll be talking about advanced knowledge, whereby now the students in fact, it's more of information processing theory, because they are more like a computer. They can be able now to have that memory of applying, but not in a very, not as much as expert. So I will use the information processing, the one that we have seen here, whereby they will be able to organize new information, link new information to the existing one. So they have a basic understanding of what they are doing. And then here we have the expertise, they are truly advanced. I will use the constructivism. And you know, here is where the word diversity comes in, so that you will use all the learners, because you cannot divide these learners and tell them, we used in your primary school, we used to be divided. The ones who are clever, stupid, you know, I don't know, that's how we used to be separated in the classroom. So we grew up knowing that we are genius because we have been put in a row where we were told we were clever. And the ones who are put in the row that we were told they were not clever, they ended up, even now when I go to Kenya, I find they have dying on HIV, they are drug addicts, because they became what the teachers called them. Can you see that? Now, we do not want to fall into that thing of putting the students in rows, of saying you are going to be in the law of initial knowledge, you are going to be in the law of advanced knowledge, you are going to be in the law of expertise knowledge, because what we realize that the teachers, by doing that, they destroy the learners. So what are we going to do? We are going to accommodate all these learners by becoming very intelligent teachers, so that we are able to give the learners an assignment that is going to help them, because the expertise learners, they'll get bored when they see you are repeating the same thing. So what are you going to do? You give an assignment, and maybe you can even use group work, so that the ones who are expert, they can teach the ones who have just the initial knowledge, so that you use all the learners to help one another. Imagine if our teachers, they will not have grouped us in terms of group A, group B, and group C, because everywhere we were going, everybody knew we were belonging to group A, and we became what the teachers called us. The ones who are called in group F, they were always getting F. If at all the teacher would have known how to use these three things, they would have mixed the learners and made the learners to help one another, and all the learners would get something. Yes, Lauren, has that helped you?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
Yes, I'm very grateful. Tresha, tell us something before we end the lecture.
Well, I wanted to know about the book, if I can find it at CNA or some stores, because I'm not anywhere near the campus.
Yes, yes. You'll get it. I bought this one. You know, let me be very honest. I don't know what happened. I borrowed this book in the library. When I borrowed the book in the library, I gave a student. I don't know whether I gave the student before the lockdown. I've tried to ask the student to give me back the book, and the student has not given me back the book. So this one, I bought it in Westville Library, because I have to return the book in the library. I bought it in Westville, in Adam's bookshop. I gave a student my book, and the student has not returned my book, and I don't know who it is. I've tried asking the student to return the book, and the student did not return. This book, I bought it in Westville, Adams. They have it. I bought it for 1,200. Yeah? So you can imagine how much it has costed me, because a student took a book and did not return it. So it's available in Adam's bookshop. I bought it for 1,200. Thank you. Any other question, Treasure?
Okay, no other questions, ma'am. Thanks.
And this book will help you. Yes, I can see Lauren. I'm happy to see you, because I'm talking to faceless people. You know?
Is this the same book?
Yeah? You have the book. Is it mine?
Not sure.
Where did you get it from?
The library.
The library. You see, they are there in the library. They are there in the library. I don't know how the library can help students. How is the library helping students when they cannot be able to come to the library? Because the book is 1,200 and is available in the library. I'm happy to see Lauren. Can I see the others? Philippa, tell us something. Yes, I want to have a face behind what I'm talking to. At least I can see Treasure, a photograph. I don't know whether it's her photograph or she has gotten it from the internet. Philippa, tell us. Yes, is it you?
Hey, ma'am,
Yeah, it's me, ma'am.
I'm gonna put a picture.
Yeah, Philippa, yes, put a photo, we see who it is we are talking to. Who is our class rep, you know? Yes, Philippa, tell us something before. Yes, tell us something. I'm really happy to talk to students because it is through communication, because we are saying digital media is about communication, expression, and interaction. As we are talking, we are doing exactly what we are meant to do. And remember, with this online learning, we are having a disadvantage of inability to talk. You will go to the classroom never having talked to anybody. Imagine that. Now you're going to turn into robots. You go to the classroom, the students are expecting you to talk. You tell them, I don't know how to talk. Why? Because I never talked since the outbreak of the virus. Philippa, tell us something. I'm waiting for Philippa to tell us something, then I go to the next student. Hello, Philippa.
Sorry, ma'am, this connection is bad. My connection, I keep in and out of the Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tell us something.
I must tell us, well, I understood everything that was taught today. I wanted to find out the instructional method. No, man.
Yes. You're out of Zoom again. When you come back, talk to me, then I'll tell you. Okay? Yes, Sipo Kazaz. Sipo Kaz.
Hello.
Okay, yes. You are back? So, Philippa, are you back?
Yes. The instructional method, where does it fall under? Is it cognitism, or for the instructional method?
Instructional method is a behaviorism. Behaviorism is also called instructional.
No, I mean informational.
Informational processing. Information processing is a theory by itself that was developed by other philosophers. So if you can see here, information processing is a theory by itself that was developed by behaviorists, developed a reaction. Those who did not really appreciate the behaviorism, like Gardner, Gardner, remember the one for multiple intelligence? They are the ones who developed this information processing theory, Gardner and others. So information processing is different from constructivism and is different from behaviorism. That's why you can see in here, initial knowledge, we can use behaviorism. Advanced knowledge, we can use information processing. Expert knowledge, we can use constructivism. So information processing was developed by Gardner, who say that learners are more like a computer. So we put input, processing, put into the memory, into the hard disk for long term, and then you can extract when you need it. Okay? Philippa, is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Sipokazi, I never saw you in the class. You came late.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us something. Have you heard anything important?
No, I was going to catch up through viewing the recorded Zoom meeting because I came late.
Okay, anything, tell us anything before we finish the lecture.
The problem is that I have nothing to say, Mama. Just
have you learned anything? Because I never saw you in the class. Did you gain anything? Did you hear me say anything?
I've just heard you explaining the initial knowledges.
Okay. Do you see will you be able to apply them in your assignment and in your test and in your everyday as an educator? Is it now clear?
Not yet, but I'll catch up.
Okay. Makosazana, tell us something before we finish the lecture. I like everybody talking. It's so important. I'm empowering you. You will thank me one day.
I have nothing to say.
Oh, please tell us something. What have you learned today then? Anything that you have gained today that is going to help you? Anything, please tell us something.
Oh, I was thinking of watching the video recording.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I came a little bit late.
Yes, but I hope what we have discussed will help you in the assignment and in your day-to-day life. Remember, me, I'm not interested mostly in assignment. I'm interested in building you as a person, because it is not wise for us to spend 60 minutes here only for the assignment's sake. We are spending 60 minutes here of your life that you never get back to build you. So you see, Dr. Gachie is equipping me to become the best and highest version of who I am really meant to be. I want to be that educator. When I go to the classroom, I make a difference. Remember, I'm going to be a preacher here. We are stewards, and stewards have been given a talent, and you must use that talent to the maximum. Not for this assignment, for the end. Always think with the end in mind. How has today's assignment molded me? How has today's assignment helped me as an educator? How has today's assignment helped me even in my day-to-day interaction with other people? How has today's assignment helped me in my own decision-making? Because next time you'll go and find yourself in a complex situation where you need maybe to purchase more than one computer or to purchase a gadget, but before you do it, you'll have to evaluate using the PI model. You plan for it, you implement it and evaluate. I'm telling you, I've seen students, they finish their studies in Edgewood. Then once they leave, another one told me, Dr. Gachie, as soon as I left Edgewood, I was employed, and within 1 year, I was in total debt. Why is a student in total debt? Because the student does not even know how to apply something simple as a PI model of planning, implementing, and evaluating her or his own buying decision. They go, they are told, buy, take a car, they take, buy this, they buy, without planning. So these things I'm not teaching you I'm teaching you to be able to equip yourself. You say, next time before when I leave the Edgewood, before I buy something, I will apply this planning PI model. I will plan first, I will implement, and I will evaluate my behavior in terms of how I'm using my money. And that's how you become wealthy. People, they think that somebody becomes wealthy because they are employed in a big job. You don't become wealthy because you're employed in a big job. You become wealthy because you are using your mind. And that is what constructivism theory is about. Constructivism theory is here to teach us how to use our mind. And your mind is the greatest asset that you can ever have. And that is the mind that I want us to use as constructivists to create meaning, not only for our learners, but for ourselves. Can I call the lecture off? I will share with you this recording and let us become the best and highest version of ourselves. Is that okay? Next week, I will look forward to seeing you. I will go through assignment 2 from beginning to the end, and I'll give you the template that you will use to do the assignment. Thank you, students.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.